Kim, Frank, New Zealand Warbirds Association. Can you give us a brief overview of what the association is, particularly for people overseas where there may not be similar organisations? So what's the history and what's the purpose of Warbirds?
Short history is, as I understand it, back in about 1977 when the Harvard aircraft came out of the New Zealand Air Force and ended up in private hands, is we ended up with a number of them up here at Ardmore. And so obviously the guys who were pretty much ex-military got together and went flying and had fun, and that sort of led to the formation of the association. I like to think that they got thirsty after a day's flying and decided they needed a beer and somewhere to have it. The founding member was really Trevor Bland, although Trevor is accredited of being the founding member. There's obviously a group of them, and I've got some minutes of a meeting they held way back with about 50 or 60 signatures on it of the guys and girls who set up New Zealand Warbirds Association.
So what's the primary mission? What's the primary goal? And when we talk about New Zealand Warbirds, there's sort of loosely there's two parts of it, isn't there? There's the museum and the facility you've got here, but then there's the actual flying side of things as well, isn't there? So
it's keeping the heritage alive. It's keeping these beautiful aircraft flying. It's showcasing us to New Zealand and the rest of the world, because we have got amazing facility here. And we have also got sub-bases, if you like, throughout New Zealand, and we do promote them as well.
So it's not just based here in Auckland.
And to add to that, the creed, I believe, off the top of my head, is to maintain for future generations classic and ex-military aircraft. And not just the aircraft, but also the people who flew them and served in the military in the past, etc. As Kim says, we're primarily based at Ardmore, and it's just because that's where we are, but we're actually a worldwide organisation. We have members from Japan, US, UK and other places, but obviously we're primarily New Zealand. We've got roughly 550, 560 members, and of that I think 180 of them are active flyers. And working on from the flying side of stuff, because that's where we really started, we've got certification with Civil Aviation Authority for our sphere of aviation, and that is primarily to issue low-level approvals for display pilots and aerobatic ratings and type ratings for the aircraft we operate. And we also have a adventure aviation certificate so that we can take people flying in these aircraft. The Warbirds at Ardmore, that grew out of a desire probably nearly 15 years ago now, that recognising we had some unique stuff here and we wanted to make it available to the public. So we opened a visitor centre, and we still call ourselves a visitor centre as opposed to a museum, because we're not a museum, but we have some amazing things which we want to share with people.
And certainly having a look around this morning, I mean, there's some new items in the hangar here since I was here last, and I know that there are other items tucked away in other hangars, but it seems that there is a couple of different types of aircraft in here. You've got the statics, like the Mackie and the Skyhawk and that sort of thing, yep. And then the other operational aircraft, which are presumably not owned by Warbirds as such, but are private owners, but they're in here and fly under auspices of Warbirds. So like the Catalina and the Mustang, for
yeah,
example.
That's correct. Warbirds owns a few aircraft, and the majority of the aircraft are owned either by syndicates or by individuals. And yeah, we're the umbrella organisation that sort of looks after the owners' interests with CAA, with airshow organisations, etc.
So obviously, the aircraft are not cheap, but the operation of the operational aircraft isn't cheap. And again, that's spread around with individual syndicates or owners. But I mean, in terms of keeping an association like this going, what sort of challenges do you face? What are the big challenges? Is it purely financial, or are there other things?
There is financial, because we are a charity, so we don't have government funding. We rely on renting out our hangar space. We rely on income coming from open days and through our visitor centre. We do have a business arm, which is the 115 rides. But that's not a huge amount because that's also seasonal as well. So yeah, it's really just keeping a membership sort of healthy and just adding value to the membership for our members and keeping people involved and wanting to be involved.
So I guess the big takeaway from that is that if anybody is interested and enjoys what you're doing out here, they need to either become a member or make sure they're out here into the visitor centre regularly to help pump a little bit of extra funding in. Yeah.
If I can add to that, is you're right, the cost of operating these things is not cheap. There's a reason why governments used to own them. And the cost of running a high-end warbird like a Mustang or a Spitfire, it's hundreds of thousands a year, pretty much. The insurance is somewhere around the region of $90,000 a year if you want to fully insure your Spitfire. So that's a big expense. Maintenance, of course, is another expense. And so people do it for, I'm not sure why they do it, but
they're enthusiastic.
The love of it.
Yeah.
The lucky bit is that we're able to share that experience.
In terms of keeping the history alive, you mentioned you do periodic open days and the visitor centres here. Is there anything else you're sort of working towards in terms of educating the public about what you've got here and what the history is all about?
Well, one thing we are starting to do, and that is offer rides outside of our bases, so outside of Ardmore and Tauranga, Masterton and Omaka. And over the summer we had rides out of the Coromandel. And so we're there for an entire day and we've got people coming in and they're saying, wow, what is this? And we're able to tell them, and then they're keen to come out here and actually come and have a look through. So we're taking every opportunity, especially if we're not at Ardmore, if we're somewhere else, to promote ourselves.
And also, if you look around the hangar here at our displays, they're primarily historical, mainly from World War II at the moment, but we've got an active program to extend those. We're just about to embark on some displays for World War I and associated with the older airplanes we've got. And there's further, we've got committees working, or groups I should say, working on improving our offering here, primarily aimed at educating people.
In the main hangar here, as you say, it's World War II, Harvards, Corsair, and the later Air Force things, but you do have that World War I collection as well. How significant is that now? I mean, how many aircraft have you got in that collection now?
We've got 6 aircraft. And they're all flyers, although some of them fly more than others. Some of them are reluctant flyers. And I mean, it's a special development for us, and it was brought about by a very generous benefactor who decided that we should have these aircraft available for exactly that reason, to educate people about the Great War. And to me, and I'm quite involved with it, it's very significant.
Any more on the horizon? Any more aircraft on it, or you're sort of sticking at half a dozen at the moment?
I think we're at our limit at the moment. Yeah.
Got pretty full hangars.
So, anybody that is interested in aviation, be it World War I, World War II, later, and they're enthusiastic, how do they get involved? I mean, presumably membership is the first step.
Yeah, come out here, come and have a look, and if it's what you want to do, then join up as a member and just come out here. The more you're out here, the more people you'll get to know and you will get involved. Right. And then we'll find things for you to do.
Voluntary
positions. Oh, there's lots of things to do.
Jobs to do, right.
And the organisation really relies on our volunteers, and we've got 50, 70?
Yeah, 70, 80 volunteers.
And the whole visitor centre thing is run through volunteers. And so we're always on the lookout for volunteers. So anybody who's remotely interested and wants to give up a little bit of time, and it's probably one weekend every 3 months or something, or one day every 3 months, we welcome you.
Right. Yeah, we do provide training. We offer first aid training, fire handling, aircraft handling. There's a lot of training that we do for health and safety.
Right. So going back to that with the volunteers and sort of being on a roster type thing, the visitor centre itself, when is that open?
It's open on Saturdays and Sundays from 10:30 till 3.
Okay. Yep. So as you say, from a volunteer's perspective, it's not that onerous really.
But we do also take bookings for during the week, so we can do group bookings for the likes of Probus and retirement homes and things like that.
Future goals? What, have you reached the pinnacle now, or are there still things you're wanting to do?
I don't think in an organisation like this you never reach the pinnacle.
It's evolving.
The goals are, first of all, to maintain what we've got, which is a challenge, financially and every other which way, but also the goal is to improve what we've got. And I've got a vision of a couple more hangars. I don't know whether I'll ever see them or not, but in our long-term plan, we've got expansion plans. All this costs millions of dollars, but we're going to continue growing.
On that, and I have personally heard comments over the last couple of months, and I know that this video itself is likely to generate questions, particularly around the World War II aircraft that are flying, that people are very familiar with, the Spitfire, the P-40, the Mustang and so on. A lot of those aircraft we know are either actively being marketed or owners have indicated that they might be for sale. Is that a concern at all, or is it just the way of things that aircraft come and go?
It is a concern for us as an organisation, but to own these things, you're not really an owner, you're just a custodian. And to quote a friend of mine, everything has its season. And so we find that people who do own these things is after a period of time they not necessarily grow out of them, but maybe the aircraft grows out of the individual. I'm not sure how to put it. And so things change. And yeah, we've got 3 fighters here or 4 fighters here at the moment, and 6 months' time we might only have 2, and that's just the way it is.
Well, we could have more because the last one was a nice surprise.
Right.
So you just don't know what's going to come out.
But equally, New Zealand wide there didn't used to be any World War II fighters down in the southern part of the North Island. Now there's 3. So it's an evolving thing. And I know that at Omaka there's something like 5 Yak aircraft being worked on. And this is Yak 3s and 9s and 7s and such like. So those aircraft are going to end up in the mix, if you like, in the next few years' time. So I think so far as World War II aircraft are concerned, is for New Zealand, it's a bright future looking ahead.
So yeah, the enthusiasts that have heard the rumours and there's no need to be worried.
Well, they can band together and buy a few of them if they like.
We'll syndicate anything.
Exactly, yeah, that's not a bad idea. In your view, how important is it to actually preserve these aircraft from New Zealand's cultural and historical perspective?
But we're not in this alone. And you can go to Motat and they've got aircraft which are preserved over there, but of course they're all static and gathering dust. I think the big difference of New Zealand Warbirds is that we've got these aircraft and we actually fly them, so that people can actually see them performing in the air. And we support a good number of air shows around the country. Of course, we have our own open days, but most weekends we've got people out here flying these aircraft, and I think that's the special bit about it.
And of course we talk about the World War I things, it's not only seeing and hearing them, it's smelling them as well.
Exactly, quite right.
So it's that whole thing. Yeah.
Yep.
So I can see over your shoulder, Kim, in the background, you've got the Canberra fuselage over there. That's certainly a new addition to the museum. And you mentioned earlier on, Frank, the various specialist groups and volunteer groups and things. Tell me a little bit about the Canberra and what's going on there. I see underneath there's reference to the Canberra group. Yeah. How does that operate within the framework of Warbirds, and what are they trying to achieve?
So with reference to the Canberra is that we donated it by the Air Force Museum because it was surplus to their requirements. And so the challenge was what to do, and we started off the idea of just getting the cockpit off it, and decided now that's a bit, that doesn't really represent what we want to do, so we ended up getting the whole aircraft. Unfortunately it'll never fly again because it's got serious corrosion issues, but it's a remembrance thing. It's to remember the fact that the Canberra was a operational aircraft in the Royal New Zealand Air Force, and the people who flew it, I think it was the last aircraft that saw combat in the form of bombing in Southeast Asia. How did we get it here is the people, ex-Canberra jocks if you like, or people, They banded together and set up their support group, and they raised the money to ship the thing up from Christchurch. It was not insignificant. It was 30 grand off the top of my head. And they've turned what was a Hulk into a museum quality exhibit. And our long-term plan, once again, it's in their never-nevers, is to have a complete aircraft on display. So we've got the wings for it, we've got the tail for it. Of course, what we haven't yet got is the hangar for it. We've also got a Vampire in a similar circumstance. We've got the bits and pieces of a Vampire stashed away in one of our hangars. And when the Canberra is finished, that'll be the next project, for example.
So there's hands-on work for appropriately experienced people as well.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And another project we've got going, of course, is the Tiger Moth rebuild, which we inherited from a past rebuild and found that it had corrosion on the frame, so it ended up getting stripped down completely to the last nut and bolt, and is now almost ready to put back together again. And that's been going 18 months, I guess.
Oh, two
couple of
3
years, and it's all been done by volunteers and overseen by engineers, of course, and so it'll be another welcome addition to our old aircraft fleet.
All right, so as we said earlier on, people need to get out here, join up, become a member, volunteer and start helping out.
That's pretty much correct, and I mean, we welcome anybody who's got an interest in aviation, and if they can contribute, we welcome them even more.
Brilliant. All right, Kim, Frank, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure, thank you.
If you'd like access to our ever-increasing playlist of exclusive members-only videos, hit the join button and become a member of our channel for only a couple of dollars a month. For just a couple of dollars more, you can also get access to our full streaming video channel at historicalmachines.tv, which features full-length documentary programs. We'd love it if you'd support our efforts to preserve this visual history of these wonderful machines.